my god. This is exactly what I wanted to fucking talk about today. Exactly. An 11-2 football team, and we're talking about drama between the wide receiver, number one wide receiver, might I add, and the quarterback. Great. Perfectly what I wanted to discuss. A team that's going to embark on a journey to maybe get to the Super Bowl and maybe win a Super Bowl this year. And we're talking about drama. And this drama, it's kind of carried over from last season. I'm not going to lie, because it feels like it has. With Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, there was so much stuff that went along last year with disconnect between quarterback and wide receiver. There were a lot of stuff that happened on the sidelines last year. We saw the reports from the offseason talking about the disconnect and the malfunction and just the disaster that was the Eagles franchise during last year, which led to the collapse. And now, after a very poor performance, which, although ended up in a win against the Carolina Panthers yesterday, there was still a lot of frustration. This passing game is not good. This passing game is unacceptable. This passing game is a disaster. You have way too much talent. You have way too many weapons for the passing game to be this bad. And this is not me going, oh, it's a Jalen Hurts problem. This is an A.J. Brown problem. This is a Devontae Smith problem. No. There is a clear disconnect, whether it's on one sole person or it's the entirety of the collective group. And that also includes Kellen Moore into this process, because teams would beg to have two weapons, and two of the best weapons, probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the entire NFL, in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And you still cannot find ways to get those two involved on a consistent basis. And there's just so many things that are circling around in my head, trying to connect all the dots that is going around with everything here, including something that just happened not that long ago, over a half hour ago, with Brandon Graham speaking to WIP about what's going on behind closed doors between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And oh boy, it does not sound good. It does not sound good at all. And we'll get to that with some audio from last night's postgame to Brandon Graham's words on WIP. But before we get into all of that, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into TTP Sports. And if you enjoy talking about drama, enjoy listening to drama about your dysfunctional franchises, definitely I recommend you hitting the subscribe button if you are a new viewer or a current viewer that hasn't hit it. It would do me a great deal of service and joining the TTP Sports family. We just recently surpassed 1,000 subscribers, trying to get that number up even further, continuing the journey of growing this channel, and you would do me a great service if you do hit that subscribe button. Also, dropping a like, also leaving a comment helps me out so much. I would very much appreciate that. Also, you can use the code TTP Sports, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. It is a great deal. Do not pass that up if you want to get yourself down to the link for these final few games of the regular season. So yeah, great stuff. What's not so great? Talking about more drama with the Eagles. It's not great at all. Here, I thought we were just gonna, move past this week. Okay, get our frustrations out, vent our frustrations about what happened and transpired yesterday with just the weird game that happened with the Carolina Panthers. Offensively, just everything, offensively, defensively, quarterback play, wide receivers, everything. It was just weird. It was shaky. It was not pretty. But you still found a way to end up with a win. You still found a way to move to 11-2. You found a way to get to a 9-game winning streak. And I thought we were just going to progress through this week, and then we would eventually move on to next week's matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Link at 425. No, because now we have to discuss more drama with our goddamn quarterback and wide receiver. It just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. It just feels like there's always something now between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And this is, like I said in the beginning, this is going back towards last year. There were so many things last year that happened between these two to where there is something that is broken in the relationship between these two men. And it leads to Brandon Graham going on WIP, literally, like I said, not a little over a half hour ago, talking about accountability, trying to mend the relationship, and it kind of felt like he was more calling out A.J. Brown than anything because, A.J. Brown vented some frustrations in the media yesterday in terms of someone asking him what needs to be fixed and it talking about the passing game. So it's just more frustration that you need to deal with this Eagles team because we were so on an absolute high in the past few weeks. Talking about the Washington game, the LA Rams game, the Baltimore Ravens game, all these games to where you're looking impressive and you're moving on week to week, just getting better and better. Your defense is dominating. Saquon Barkley is on bark for a historic season. Yeah, your passing game could be a lot better, but you're still winning games and dominating them nonetheless. And then maybe this Carolina Panthers game's mixed in between there. It's a win. You were playing so good the previous weeks that, okay, this is the blip on the radar. You were going to have a game where a lot of things looked ugly. It happens on the course of a very long winning streak. If, you play Pittsburgh next week and things return back to the norm of what you were doing in previous weeks, then this is just basically a blip on the radar. But right now, I'm trying to connect the dots with all of this drama between these two. And I don't know how to connect those dots because I got so many questions that are circling around in my head. How long has this drama been lasting? Because this is going back to last season, like I keep saying. And why is Brandon Graham, who is a very smart mind, I'm going to add, why does he go on the radio and talk about all these things when maybe this is the best case scenario? Well, not a best case scenario, but maybe the best option to keep it in-house. You're an 11-2 football team. You're on a 9-game winning streak. Why is this drama coming out now? Are you trying to get ahead of the curve and you're trying to fix whatever is going on quickly before it spirals into something that can get out of control and maybe can ruin your season? Because yes, this passing game is definitely something that can hinder this Eagles team's ability to maybe win a playoff game, especially if you go deep into the playoffs. If you go to an NFC championship game against the Detroit Lions possibly, is that something that's going to hold you back this passing game? It definitely could be a reason why, because this passing game is just that bad. It shouldn't be this bad. It shouldn't be this bad to be ranked that bottom in the league when you have A.J. Brown, when you have Devontae Smith, when you have Jalen Hurts, and when you're on bark for an historic season by Saquon Barkley, where it feels like defenses have to focus specifically on Saquon Barkley to just find a way to contain him. That should open up plenty for the passing game for A.J. Brown, for Devontae Smith. And for some reason, you just cannot get that going. You cannot find a way to get flow between those two guys. And like I said, I don't know if this is a Jalen Hurts problem. I don't know if this is an A.J. Brown problem. I don't know if this is a Kellen Moore problem or if it's just a whole collective group type of situation to where no one can figure this thing out. And if we're talking even about figuring this thing out, it's been how many weeks at this point and it's still not figured out? Maybe this is just who you are at the end of the day. You're a team that doesn't have a good passing game. You're dominant on the trenches. You're dominant with the run game, and you're dominant with your defense. And that's what's led to your success. But like I said, even with all those things that are great, maybe that one thing that makes you incomplete, which is the passing game, is something that holds you back from being even more spectacular. And that is something that I just question every time now. Something that is going on in the back of my mind that I just cannot find a way to connect the dots on how this passing game is just that poor. It doesn't make sense. It really does not. And A.J. Brown clearly expressed his frustrations yesterday in the post-game pressers, talking to the media. So I definitely want to bring this up now because it definitely is very relevant. So I found the video on Twitter. A lot of people have it, so I'm going on. It's from Elliott Shore Parks. A lot of people shared it over way. It's about a minute. This is A.J. Brown in the postgame talking about what the Eagles' offense needs to improve on, and you can definitely hear the frustration in his voice as you listen to this. So here we go.
Offense wasn't good enough. What are some things you think that the offense needs to improve on? Passing. AJ, I know everybody wants to get in a rhythm, and Devontae was acknowledging that. You know, receivers, just like running backs, want to get in rhythm. How hard is it as a receiver to get into a rhythm when you guys are only throwing the ball like 20 times?
Incredibly tough.
It seemed like there was a moment on the sideline when you threw your helmet into the bench. What prompted that reaction?
3 and out.
As a leader on this offense, what's kind of your approach this week in changing the result in terms of everyone, not just you, a lot of the players on offense saying that this was just not up to the offensive standard?
Putting our head down and just going to work, doing the things we're doing and learning and growing.
What are the conversations like with Jalen during a game like this, where maybe the passing game isn't everything you want it to be?
Not too much conversation, honestly. I don't know.
How is there not that much conversation between him and Jalen Hurts? That's what I want to know. How is there not that much conversation when the passing game is literally as garbage as it is? How is there none? How is there none? And every time, especially when you're going through yesterday's game, the amount of times that they pan over to the sidelines and you see A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith clearly frustrated with the lack of targets, with the lack of the passing game even being successful, I don't want to see that from my top 2 wide receivers. I don't. And I keep going, is this a Jalen Hurts issue? I don't know how to think about that, because as harsh as I am on Jalen Hurts, I am a Jalen Hurts believer because I've seen him play at the top of his game not that long ago, to where he was an MVP candidate. He was leading this team to a Super Bowl appearance, to where he balled his ass out against Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and he played one of the best games of his life. He can throw the ball, to contrary to everyone's belief, because a lot of people like to deny that Jalen Hurts can throw the ball and say that he is a bad passer. I don't think that, because I've seen him dominate the games with his arm before. It's in there. I don't know why it's so inconsistent as it is. And I don't know what the reason is for Jalen Hurts' struggles with the passing game this year. Even though there have been very good glimpses of dimes and dots this year from Jalen and some good passing performances, it feels like it's getting worse week after week after week. And yeah, he's not turning the ball over. He's keeping the ball in the possession of the Eagles. That definitely is a very important thing. But when it's going to the fact that where you're barely passing the ball and when you're barely getting any passing yards, that's an issue. You can only fall back on not turning the ball over when you're not even really attempting to pass the ball. I'm seeing Calcaterra get more targets. I'm seeing Johnny Wilson get more targets. I'm seeing Dotson get more targets in certain situations now over AJ Brown. As the game is beginning, I'm seeing those guys get more targets more over your top guys. Why is it taking that long to get those guys involved? It shouldn't be that case, because there are so many teams that would salivate at the chance to have those 2 wide receivers, especially if those teams did not have the running attack like the Eagles do, because Saquon Barkley is on bark for it, basically probably the most historic season by a running back in NFL history. And you have that on top of one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. And you can't figure out how to get that going? I'm being honest. What is the issue? What is the problem? Because I don't, 2 and 2 don't mix together. It just doesn't connect. How do you have this dominant of a run game and you have this much talent in the passing attack for it to not mesh, for it to not mix well? It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. Is it a scheme problem? Is it a Jalen Hurts problem? And I keep repeating that because I don't know what the problem is. We don't know what the clear problem is. And does this just all go back to this disconnect that we've been getting since last season? It hasn't really been relevant this year, or present this year. I don't even know if that was a word. Relevant, blah, 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 blah. I'm speaking out of my ass at this point because I'm trying to find the answers. But does this all go back to, and like I said, this has been carrying over from last season, this disconnect between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts? Because there were so many times last year where A.J. Brown went to the media to vent some frustration or clear the room and everything like that, to make things sound like how they they aren't truly are or something like that, to where he tries to maybe like rationalize, his frustrations and say, oh, it's not about Jalen or the disconnect between us or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that whatsoever. I'm just trying to figure that out. And the Brandon Graham video that I'm going to play here in a few seconds here, and there's definitely more quotes with Brandon Graham. This is only like a small snippet of what's trending on Twitter from WIP, but it really just makes me think that this disconnect is just far from beyond repair. Because these two guys, before A.J. Brown was brought to the Eagles, these two guys were best friends. And is this just something to where they can't balance friendship and teammate at the same time? And it's really just this whole situation is just completely breaking apart the relationship. I don't know, but it really sounds like that could possibly be the case. I'm just trying to find ways to add things together. And these are the things that are processing through my mind as I look through all this stuff. So I don't know what the cause is. But let's listen to Brandon Graham's thoughts. Let's listen to what Brandon Graham said on WIP between A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, and there's definitely more quotes here on the Crossing Broad article by Kevin Kinkead, because he definitely elaborates on more of the quotes here that maybe puts more things into perspective or tries to get the full thought of Brandon Graham out there. So let's get to this quote here. Well, not quote, the video of Brandon Graham talking. So let's get to that. It's around 57 seconds.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he know this. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he respond to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business, and that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because man, it's like a lot of stuff. Most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem gotta want to talk to the person other than others. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
So it really just sounds like right here that Brandon Graham is talking more about A.J. Brown and him expressing frustration to the media. And this is something that A.J. Brown has been doing the past couple of years. He's not, a stranger to this entire thing. This has been A.J. Brown the past couple of seasons. But it seems like he's more frustrated with A.J. Brown's perspective of taking his frustration out to the media instead of keeping it behind closed doors and having a conversation with Jalen Hurts on the disconnect, on the problems, and how we can really fix that and try to get this thing going to where we're not one of the most embarrassing passing attacks in the entire NFL, because there is way too much talent in this passing attack to be this putrid, because it is clearly unacceptable. I know A.J. Brown knows that. Jalen Hurts has to know that. Kellen Moore knows that. Nick Sirianni knows that. I'm sure Brandon Graham, this entire team knows that this passing attack should not be as bad as it is. But it also just makes me question if it's because it's kind of being hypocritical at the same time with Brandon Graham's perspective, because he's complaining about A.J. Brown going to the media expressing his frustration, but then Brandon Graham's also going to the media talking about A.J. Brown going to the media. It just doesn't make sense to me. And Brandon Graham's a very smart person, to where it makes me think about this entire thing as to where is what's going on behind closed doors. Is this just right now so far apart? It's so bad to where you can't fix this thing behind closed doors, to where you need something from an outside perspective, from an outside presence to maybe whip them back into shape and get them back on the right mindset. Because, is Brandon Graham possibly doing this, getting this on WIP, getting this out there on airwaves? So a lot of the NFL media talks about this. A lot of the Philadelphia media talks about this on social media, everything like that, to where it gets a lot of questions from the fan base and maybe backlash, maybe pressure, and maybe if they see all this presence, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, that is, maybe that you're like, okay, let's, put all of our differences to the side. Let's focus on football. Let's focus on getting this thing back on track. Let's put our differences to the side. Let's also focus on helping this team, continuing this winning streak, continuing, improving this record, get into the playoffs, and focus on the journey of getting back to the Super Bowl and getting that, that trophy, that Super Bowl trophy, everything there. So, is it that? Is it that possibly what Brandon Graham's doing? I don't know. I don't know. And we're going to have to probably go through these things as the week goes along. Because Nick Sirianni has press conference earlier today. There was really nothing on those terms. So I don't know if there's going to be another press conference in the next few days or so leading up to the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers where this is going to be brought up again, because it 100% is going to be brought up once again to Nick Sirianni on, how bad is this disconnect between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and is it really that big of a problem in the locker room right now to where Brandon Graham has to go on the media to talk about it? It's really just weird. It really just is. So there's more to this quote as well, because there's like Kevin Kinkead put this entire quote out there basically just to really fully elaborate on what Brandon Graham is trying to say. So I'm trying to find where he didn't talk and what was brought up in the video and everything like that. So it basically started off with a Howard Eskin question about getting everybody on the same page and accepting responsibility. And so this is the portion of the preceding quote that is going viral. So Brandon Graham, the person that's complaining needs to be accountable, and I'm just being honest. And he, AJ Brown, knows this. I don't know the whole story. But I know that Jalen Hurts is okay. So that's basically the quote right here. So, okay. So here's more to the quote right here. It's difficult because if you don't hold yourself accountable, there's nothing I can do anyway. We all have to be accountable for our actions and what we do. Some people are going to stand on it and double down on it, whatever they do. Okay, I get it. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but when we got stuff in house and we winning, it's just not a good look for the person complaining when you ain't complaining to the right person. That's all I'm saying. If I got a problem, I'm going to that man. I'm not going to the media. I'm not acting a certain way, but everyone grows at different times too. At the end of the day, we all got problems, we all got stuff going on, and we all got to manage ourselves with the media, because if we give y'all some stuff, that's what we're going to be talking about all day, just being honest. But we got a good group, and I'm not trying to mess that up at all. All it takes is the conversation sometimes, but the person that has this problem has to be willing to have that conversation. And more on this quote at all. You got to take ego out of it. It's team. It's all about team, and that's all I'm saying. Don't let our expectations and us not meeting it make you react the way you react. If you got a problem, go talk to the man. Go talk to your people. You know what I'm saying? Get it off your chest, but don't do it to the media. We all got to keep that stuff in house. Jalen is out there really trying, man, and I'm not trying to be biased here because that's my teammate. I've seen certain stuff that you don't see off the field, and it's like, man, people trying to attack his character like he ain't this, he don't smile. That junk just be killing me because he holds it in. He has to take it because heavy is the head that wears the crown. I understand he's number one and he's going to be the guy who gets attacked, but man, it's accountability for everyone, all of us, and how we respond and how we do things. We got a chance to be great on this team, and we can't get little things get in the way of that. I just want to say that now because I'm trying to be as honest as I can without being disrespectful to anybody. As men, we all need to learn how to talk and open our mouths instead of going to the media. That's an out, man. Don't do that. We talk about keeping it tight. That's part of it. That's my brother. As much as brothers fight, go talk to your brother. Get on the same page with your brother. Don't let that person get in the way of the business. I just don't like when people try to portray it in a certain way. What are you doing to help the situation? That is not helping us. So, and this is basically the summary right here from Kevin Kinkead. He said he wants the guys to fix the problems in-house instead of going to the media, but he does that in the media, so it's a bit of irony in there, but the message really is just fine. The real question is the extent of disconnect between Brown and Hurts. Maybe we'll hear more about that, or maybe not. What's really annoying is that the Eagles are 11-12 and on a 9-game winning streak, and we really don't need this right now. Just figure it out, get your shit together, because you're talented enough to go win a Super Bowl. That's a good summary right there. It's a good summary. Yeah, I think Brandon Graham does not mean ill words at all. He really just wants these guys to figure it out and to get these guys back on the same page. And yes, I completely understand, not liking A.J. Brown going to the media whatsoever. But yeah, it is kind of hypocritical because you're also explaining this and stressing this to the media about A.J. Brown going to the media. So yeah, there is irony on that part. But it just makes me think, is the disconnect just that bad? Is it just that bad? Because there were clear signs last year of A.J. Brown not being a good leader. And there definitely were a lot of things in the offseason about Jalen Hurts and the way his attitude changed once he signed that contract. The big extension, the big bucks, and, how he's more secluded and everything like that, the way his attitude changed and everything. I don't know, did that rub off the wrong way on A.J. Brown and everything there? Are these guys just having trouble with their friendship and teammate being, two different type of separate entities? I don't know. I don't know. And it's all those things that's just churning in my mind to where I can't find a full concrete answer. And we're never going to get that concrete answer because they're never really going to tell us what the issue is. AJ Brown 100% is probably going to apologize. He's going to say, I didn't mean anything towards Jalen or anything like that. He's going to apologize. They're going to mend all these things up. And watch, once they play the Pittsburgh Steelers next week, A.J. Brown's going to go off. The passing game's going to look completely different, and we're going to act like everything's all hunky-dory. It's probably going to be the case. It 100% could be the case. But should we act like everything is all hunky-dory? I don't know. This passing game is really putrid, and, locker room stuff is what was also the cause of the major collapse last year. All that's I'm saying. It's all what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying that this team is going to collapse. I'm not saying that whatsoever because I think this team has a different mindset to them. But it definitely is something, especially this disconnect between AJ and Jalen. It's something that can hold them back. That's all I'm saying. They could still, they go out there, win a Super Bowl, everything's fine. Everything. Apologies to everything there. You're fine. You're good. You're dandy. I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me to where you're an 11-2 football team, and this drama is getting out there. And like I said, A.J. Brown has every right to be frustrated with how bad the passing game is. We shouldn't be seeing our two top wide receivers on the sidelines clearly and visibly frustrated with how poor the passing game is and how little targets those two are getting. Makes you wonder about things. It definitely does. It definitely does. Now, just a little quick refresher of the Twitterverse here just to see if there's anything more on anything. I don't know what the case is. I don't know what the case could possibly be. And it's funny, too, because Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens quote tweeted all this stuff, and now everyone's just, poking fun at how long this beef between T.O. and Donovan McNabb has been going on for 20-plus years at this point. It's funny, I will bring up this question because that's actually pretty funny. Just, a little bit of a lighthearted thing going into this. Donovan McNabb on A.J. Brown's potential frustrations with Jalen Hurts. It's two grown men. If you got an issue, you come to me. Let's not go to the media because now it blows up and now what you said is out there in front of everybody. And then Terrell Owens quote tweeted that saying, now this is interesting. It's coming from you. Not how I interpreted it, but the funny thing is, I agree with you on the idea of if you have an issue with someone, then you go to them and not the media. But here's the thing. I never had an issue with you, but it's known that you had an issue with me. So maybe you should have taken your own advice. Oh, yeah, and we might have won Super Bowl 39, but that's another story for another day. Just my 2 cents. Oh, boy. Just another dandy day in the city of Philadelphia with your damn Eagles team. Here we go. Here's another thing by Tim McManus right here. So, Just spoke with Brandon Graham. He clarified his comments about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown's relationship. I just assumed about their friendship, and it made me out to look even worse because I had it all wrong, and now people are going to run with that part. I really just want to win, man, and I want brothers to be able to just hash it out. I'm going to make sure I apologize to both of them. As for the overall message Graham was trying to convey, I wasn't trying to be divisive. I just didn't want to use the media in a bad way. I can't do that either. If I got something to say, I've got to go to the people too. I made a mistake and I assumed that there was something that it wasn't. I just want to win so bad that I don't want to use the media when we need to talk about something and we can't fix our problems ourselves. I didn't add in a good light, so that is my bad. We'll see. We'll see. I just hope this isn't a thing that could derail the entire year. I just hope it's not the case. I just really hope it isn't the case. We'll see, though. We'll see, though. So, that'll do it for today, everybody. Man, wasn't expecting talking about this. I was going to talk about the Phillies today and the freaking Juan Soto stuff, but I guess I got to push that back to tomorrow. So, yeah, I had to get this frustration out with this Eagles team because I didn't expect it. Oh, man. So, what are your thoughts, everybody? Don't forget to leave all that stuff down in the comment section down below. I appreciate to have some discussion with some of you guys down there. So, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. And also use the code TTPSPORTS. $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. And I'll see you next time.